People in Grand Rapids say they've always known what the rest of the world has just found out, that their town is one of the nation's best. But what makes this small town so special? Well, we try to find out the answer today. Is it the people?
Everybody is friendly, for one thing, honest.
We're so clean up here and everything. We never get out of line. They got good law enforcement here.
What about the relaxed, down-home atmosphere?
I like the non-hustle and bustle of trying to get around to places.
Is it the town's thriving business community?
The Blannon Foundation is a terrific asset to the community. And the Blannon Paper Company gives a good security base to the community.
Or is it something you can't quite put your finger on? Is it the people that makes us such a
I don't know, I don't know. After you live in my age, you hate to move someplace. I'll have to go to one of these old folks pretty soon.
Moving right along, not finding any definitive answers, we decided to go directly to the source. But by the time we got to the bookstore, it was too late. The one and only copy of the 100 Best Small Towns in America had been sold. Rushing to meet a deadline, we quickly tracked down the proud owners, Mike and Mary Jo Hendricks.
It was nice to have the first and last copy, but boy, have they got a lot of orders in.
Not that people here need to read it. They live it every day. In Grand Rapids, Amy Rutledge, News 6.
Credits end up just being credits that don't really go towards anything. But in the high school and the junior high, letting them
have a lot of materials and equipment to go out and do that kind of river cleanup, or we just do more with more people?
there. And we do a lot of cleanup projects, adopted river projects throughout the city.
Students go out on a weekly basis and work with.
And if we can get these kids motivated, they can contribute to the economy rather than being a drain on it. Some of those get in trouble, get into criminal activity. Hopefully this will cut down on that and give them something productive to do.
As far as getting this passed, do you see this as a rather uphill battle?
Well, obviously there's problems. That was good.
Neil Ladson's body has taken a lot of abuse over the past 15 years. That's how long he's been teaching self-defense classes at UMD. He says in the beginning there wasn't a need for it, but as violent crime has increased, so have the number of students attending his class.
Statistics have shown, it's clearly evident, that people who fight back against a rapist or a person that wants to commit sexual assault have a better chance of the assault not occurring than people who do nothing at all to prevent it.
Ladston says you don't have to be a strong athlete to protect yourself. Rather, self-defense is a combination of common sense and basic tips, like newspaper, books, and even hairspray can make great weapons. Ladston also stresses the need to focus on the vulnerable areas when fighting off an attacker. Eyes in the genital area are the most sensitive.
If I'm pulling her towards me, she can bring her knee up into it. Okay? Hair pull, that's a simple way to get out of a hair pull situation.
Tracy Ackman took a self-defense class last fall. She's never had to use what she learned, but feels better knowing she has the tools to protect herself.
I mean, it's not power, it's just, knowing the spots and the areas and like what to do if someone does certain kind of things to you that you don't like.
In Duluth, Amy Rutledge, News 6.
No, I have not.
If there does come a situation where you will have to do that, will you feel prepared? Do you think you'll be ready to protect yourself?
Well, no person is ever ready to protect them.
Right now, our major concern is to pump out the engines so they don't leak anymore, and then we'll right them, and then we'll clean up the area.
There are a couple of things in here that seems like
huge administrative waste, the excessive fees and the unnecessary.
We offer our bill as a much more effective plan to contain costs than what is being proposed by the State Health Care Commission. A single-payer system, such as we propose, has the potential to save $2 billion in administrative waste for Minnesota's annual health care spending.
I love it. I think it's wonderful. I think this is the essence of quality of life in Minnesota.
It fills that winter tourism season, which typically in our area has been slower than the summer season.
A lawyer, sometimes it seems a little more formal than you'd imagine. And reading it, it sounds like I'm inspecting a nuclear testing facility here, because it says a specific room for the inspection will be designated shortly prior to the inspection, and you will be advised in writing of the appropriate room to go to. You know, it does sound a little formal.
Oh yes, before we even opened up the gates this morning, we had about 5 or 6 guys at the gate wanting to get in.
Communion in St. Mary's Basilica, one of the more traditional means by which the church ministers to its congregation. Then there's the not-so-traditional approach, like this ad placed by St. Mary's in the Sunday edition of the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. It reads in part, "If you've been hurt by the church or are confused or angry because of your, quote, Catholic experience, unquote, please consider this invitation to come and talk with us.
There are a lot of people who, I think, if issued the right kind of genuine invitation, that we want to help them and offer healing, and maybe in the instance of some even ask for their forgiveness, we want them back. We want to serve them.
The church's efforts to reconcile with the angry and disenchanted fall on the heels of another crippling blow stemming from the case of former priest James Porter, one that strikes at the very heart of the church's hierarchy. Porter stands accused of molesting more than 100 children in Minnesota and Massachusetts before leaving the priesthood in the early 70s. In order to leave, he had to file a petition with the Vatican. And just last week, that previously confidential document was made public. In it, Porter admitted he had been using the priesthood as a protection and as a means to foster his sickness.
Who was more at fault? Father Porter for molesting us? Or the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, who knew he was sick, who knew he was a perverted pedophilic priest, who turned him loose on parish after parish after parish?
But Father O'Connell says whatever the source of the disillusionment felt by some former Catholics, the church itself is bigger than the individuals responsible for their pain. Brad Woodard for NBC News.
In Dunsmuir, we spoke. We don't need that. We need everybody to be working together. That's why it's on the hazardous materials list, and medium sodium is.
This is what you lost, or maybe we didn't lose. I suspect we did. But if an economist says this community lost $10 million, their business has lost $10 million because of this spill, then that is what I feel our community is owed.
Apparently what they do is put methyl sodium in the soil, water it, it reacts for 2 to 3 days, takes. So then I think we're only worried about reputation, stigma, and loss of business.
The injuries, the amount of people we're talking about, the amount of people that were affected in both Duluth, Superior, and surrounding areas, along with the types of damages they've sustained, both health effects, damages to their property.
Some of the people in our community as extras, and I understand that.
But for those who can't, there will be talk a little bit more about what your needs are.
And much humility to.
And are very honored that that everyone would gather here from the surrounding communities and jointly proclaim Iron Will Day for March 1st. That is, of course, the one day of 3 that we'll be filming up in 2 harbors for this, the large scene to end this action adventure.
Dr. Gerald Peterson, an economist at UMD, has created this top 5 list of business ideas for the Northland. Number 5, spin-offs for our wood products industry. Examples, publishing activities or the development of structural wafer board for use in construction. Number 4, tourism-related activities that are destination-oriented. Examples, a nostalgic theme park or restaurant that would highlight our area's history. Number 3, non-traditional retail service for the two-income couple. An example, a grocery shopping and delivery service. Number 2, develop a business to reduce per-pupil labor costs in education. An example there, a software system to help teachers do their jobs. And number 1, a small business catering to our growing elderly population to keep them in their homes. Ideas may include a shopping or transportation service.
The decision was by no means an easy one. Board members recognize that in a small town like Warba, the school is the community's hub and often its anchor.
I have agonized over this, and my head goes one way, my heart goes another way. I think I've got everything all resolved, and then something else comes up, and I'm right back into the pit again.
But facing a budget shortfall of about $350,000, the Grand Rapids School District had to do something. Closing Warba School will save $108,000 a year. But it isn't money that most Warba students are worried about. It's getting lost in the halls and heart of a much bigger school.
I know everyone's names, and I can always recognize everyone's face. If I go to Murphy, this big school, how am I supposed to learn practically anyone's name?
Murphy School in Grand Rapids is where the 120 Warba students will be headed next fall. Concerns about that move are affecting many Murphy parents as well.
I've been in Murphy enough to know that I don't think there's lots of extra space, and you talk about quality space.
One plan that had been kicked around during efforts to save Warba School was to create an environmental magnet school that would draw students from all over the region, including the Coleraine, Floodwood, and Hill City school districts. But board members felt the school building was just too old to save and weren't convinced the district would support Warba as the location for such a magnet. When those discussions were tabled, most parents felt their battle was lost.
People in this room probably realize that this putting off till later a magnet school concept means that we will never see another school in Warba.
The Warba Elementary School will close at the end of this school year. Barbara Riles, News 6. The first ship won't sail until March 19th, but there's a lot of shipping-related activity going on behind the scenes right now. The Edgar Spear, which wintered in Duluth, is preparing to sail a week from Thursday, and maintenance work on the vessel is almost complete. The Spear will take on a load of taconite either at the DM&IR dock in Duluth or in two harbors. Her destination is uncertain, but she will most likely head for Indiana or Ohio. The aerial lift bridge has also undergone some maintenance over the winter, and officials are confident the bridge will operate efficiently throughout the season. But there may be a hitch in one of the port's most lucrative commodities, grain. Lawmakers in Washington are considering a cutoff of the grain trade to Russia for non-payment of ag credits.
We're talking in excess of 1 million tons of corn. We're talking about 500,000 tons of wheat. So when we're talking those volumes, yes, it probably does negatively impact the Port of Duluth.
Port officials say if the cutoff is enacted, it will mean a substantial loss in tonnage shipped from the twin ports. But while the politicians work on that in Washington, preparations move ahead here for the upcoming season. The seaway will open on schedule March 30th, and the Coast Guard cutter Sundu will begin breaking ice in the harbor on Monday. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
But I do want to remind you that this is a very serious, very responsible position that you're taking. You carry through with it.
I tied the rope around me, and he wrapped it around the ladder there, and I lowered myself down to the level where the water was raising, about one rung on the ladder, and kneeled down and called a guy to come to me, and he came.
I was running for rope. She was taking pictures. Well, how long have you been in Duluth?
So he just kind of stood on that ice, just kind of bobbing, and then you just got down there and called. Guy doesn't look bad.